The 1919 Black Sox fix. The scandal that stained the soul of baseball. In 1919, 8 members of the Chicago White Sox, most famously shoeless Joe Jackson, were accused of conspiring with gamblers to throw the World Series. The team had the talent, led the league, and should have easily dispatched the Cincinnati Reds. Instead, they fumbled plays, misfired pitches, and underperformed at suspiciously perfect moments. Gamblers paid out $5,000 to $10,000 per player, peanuts by today's standards, but life-altering in the dead ball era. The alleged mastermind was first baseman Chick Gandil, who recruited teammates and connected with gamblers, including associates of underworld figure Arnold Rothstein. Though evidence was circumstantial, the performances were suspect enough to spark national outrage. The team's owner, Charles Comiskey, did little to investigate. When rumors turned into headlines, he tried to brush it aside, even rewarding players with bonuses. A 1921 trial acquitted all 8 players, but not in baseball's eye. Newly appointed Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis banned them for life, despite the lack of conviction. Jackson's role remains hotly debated. He hit .375 in the series with no errors, but the stain stuck. The Black Sox scandal remains the league's original sin, baseball's warning shot about gambling, greed, and the fragility of trust. Shoeless Joe never returned to the game, and to this day, fans still argue over whether he deserved the lifetime ban, or if he was just collateral damage in a broken clubhouse. Astros sign stealing. It started with bangs, literally. In 2017, the Houston Astros engineered one of the most audacious cheating operations in modern sports history. Using a camera in center field, the team intercepted opposing catchers' signs in real time, relayed the pitch type to the dugout, and then communicated it to batters by banging on a trash can. One bang meant off speed, no bang meant fastball. Simple, low-tech, and wildly effective. The scheme was exposed in 2019 by former Astro Mike Fears, who told The Athletic the entire operation had been orchestrated during the team's 2017 championship run. Investigators confirmed that not only did it happen, but it involved key players, including Carlos Beltran, who reportedly served as the scheme's field general. The scandal rocked the league. What made it worse? There were whispers MLB knew about it earlier. Insiders claimed other teams had privately complained for months. Some believe the league waited to act until after the Astros had secured their title, fearing a scandal mid-postseason would damage ratings and sponsorships. Beltran was hired to manage the Mets in late 2019, but stepped down before ever managing a game. No Astros players were suspended. The organization was fined $5 million, lost draft picks, and fired their general manager and manager. Fans weren't satisfied. The scandal's legacy is toxic. Fans still boo the Astros, question their legitimacy, and wonder how much the league really knew and when. For some, it's not just cheating. It's an asterisk burned into baseball's soul. Pete Rose's gambling. Baseball's hit king didn't just bet on games. He bet on himself, lied about it for years, then got caught up in a saga that keeps growing darker with age. Pete Rose finished his playing career with more hits than anyone in MLB history. But by the late 80s, he was managing the Reds and allegedly placing bets on his own team. Sometimes to win, sometimes in more complex wagers that raised even more suspicion. The investigation came to light in 1989 when MLB appointed lawyer John Dowd to dig into the rumors. The Dowd report outlined more than 50 games Rose had bet on, laying down action through bookies and middlemen, possibly connected to criminal enterprises. Rose denied everything. MLB banned him for life. He kept denying it for 15 more years. Then in 2004, Rose admitted he had bet on games, but not on his team to lose, he insisted. That part mattered, even if it didn't save him. He's still banned from the Hall of Fame, despite having a career worthy of a statue on every ball field. What most fans don't know, Rose allegedly continued gambling post-ban, sometimes using offshore accounts and trusted runners to place bets. There are whispers that he even bet while under investigation, fully aware of what was at stake. It wasn't just about money, it was about compulsion, addiction, and denial. Pete Rose's legacy is now a cautionary tale, not just for players, but for leagues profiting off sports betting while preaching purity. The line between love of the game and love of the action? Razor thin. If you want more stories where the game and the gambler collide, hit subscribe. Fielder-Garcia affair rumor. In the shadows of Detroit's powerful 2013 roster, a rumor grew legs. Avisail Garcia allegedly slept with Prince Fielder's wife. Never confirmed, never denied. Just whispered behind closed doors and repeated endlessly in locker rooms and forums. Fielder was the Tigers' big money slugger, signed to a 9-year deal worth over $200 million. Garcia was a promising young outfielder, a mini-Miggy doppelganger who was climbing the depth chart fast. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, both were gone. Fielder was traded to Texas. Garcia shipped to Chicago in a 3-way deal, and fans started connecting dots. The official story: positional redundancy, injury concerns, contract management. But the timing was too clean. Fielder's performance had dipped. Garcia was on the rise. Yet, they were sent packing in the same season. People wondered, was this a clubhouse cancer cover-up? Did something personal detonate that the front office quietly contained? Reporters asked, but nobody talked. Players kept it in-house. Garcia never commented. Fielder only smiled awkwardly when pressed. The Tigers' front office said nothing beyond baseball reasons. And so, the rumor calcified, fueled by Reddit threads, fantasy forums, and barbershop debates. It may be totally false, or it may be one of the messiest team implosions of the last decade. Either way, it explains why Tigers fans still twitch at the names Fielder and Garcia. Because when talent walks out the door and everyone pretends nothing happened, fans start writing their own endings. Eckersley-Manning wife swap. Dennis Eckersley's Hall of Fame resume is pristine, but behind the mound, his personal life became the stuff of locker room legend. In the mid-1970s, while playing for the Cleveland Indians, Eckersley's marriage reportedly fell apart after his wife began dating, and eventually married, his own teammate Rick Manning. Yes, really. According to numerous stories from the era, Eckersley's then-wife Denise began a relationship with Manning while Eckersley was still on the team. The two players weren't just colleagues, they were roommates on road trips, which made the betrayal sting even more. The scandal broke the clubhouse. The situation escalated quickly. Eckersley was traded to the Boston Red Sox in March 1978, shortly after the affair came to light. Officially, the move was chalked up to team needs. Unofficially, it was damage control. Players don't always have to like each other, but they can't share hotel rooms with the guy who stole their wife. Manning later married Denise, which only poured salt in the wound. The story became an open secret around the league, so infamous that even players from other teams joked about it on the field. Eckersley rarely addressed it publicly, but the pain was visible in interviews from that era. He focused on his career, reinvented himself as a closer, and eventually made it to Cooperstown. But the shadow of that betrayal never fully disappeared. It's a story that makes fans wince, and one of the most quietly brutal off-field episodes in baseball history. Miguel Cabrera blow-up. Miguel Cabrera is one of the most gifted hitters of his generation. But according to persistent fan theories, his 2013 season involved more than just home runs. It allegedly included a physical altercation inside the Tigers clubhouse that never made it to the press. The story goes like this. During the same season that the rumored Prince Fielder-Avisail Garcia affair broke clubhouse trust, tensions reportedly erupted into a full-blown fight. Some versions say Cabrera tried to break it up. Others claim he was directly involved. One particularly dramatic Reddit theory suggests Cabrera was injured in the scuffle, possibly explaining a sudden slump in power late that season. Officially, there's no police report, no injury note, no suspension. But something was clearly off. Fielder, Cabrera, and Garcia, three integral bats, were no longer teammates by the following season. The team that looked like a World Series favorite suddenly unraveled. Detroit beat writers at the time noted a strange energy around the clubhouse. Quotes got colder, post-game handshakes stopped, and the chemistry that once made the Tigers elite quietly imploded. Nobody confirmed a fight, but the rumor never died. Fans still wonder what really happened behind closed doors, especially since all three players experienced career turbulence after. Fielder retired early with neck issues. Garcia bounced between teams. Cabrera stayed a Tiger, but never again reached the dominance of his 2012 Triple Crown season. Did a single locker room implosion derail a contender? Maybe. Or maybe the truth got buried under the weight of a clubhouse pact never to talk. If this clubhouse meltdown really happened, it changed everything. Think the story's real? Drop a comment and subscribe for more untold dugout drama. 1980s owners collusion scandal. Before salary caps and arbitration debates, MLB owners played a far dirtier game, colluding to suppress player salaries in the 1980s. It wasn't whispered, it wasn't subtle, it was outright illegal, and it cost them nearly $300 million in damages. It started in 1985. Free agents weren't getting signed, not because they weren't good, but because teams had secretly agreed not to pursue each other's players. Stars like Kirk Gibson and Carlton Fisk suddenly found themselves without suitors. Even mid-tier players noticed a chilling freeze. General managers claimed coincidence. The players' union smelled something rotten. Then came the receipts. A 1987 memo from Commissioner Peter Ueberroth reportedly encouraged owners to rein in free agent spending. Behind closed doors, teams coordinated. Offers were withheld, bids were matched, not exceeded. The goal? Stop the rising cost of talent by eliminating the market altogether. 3 rounds of grievances followed. Arbitrators sided with the players every time. In total, MLB owners paid out over $280 million in damages across collusion 1, 2, and 3. It was the largest financial penalty in baseball labor history, and proof that the league's power brokers weren't just competing, they were conspiring. This wasn't a rogue operation, it was system-wide. And even decades later, it colors every labor negotiation. Players don't forget, and fans, once they learn the full story, usually don't either. Milwaukee's Haunted Hotel. Welcome to the Pfister Hotel, where major leaguers don't fear curveballs, they fear something colder than a curveball. The breath of something not quite living. Located in downtown Milwaukee, the Pfister is a luxury hotel with old-world charm and a bone-chilling reputation. Nearly every team visiting the Brewers has stayed there, and a staggering number of players have reported paranormal activity. We're not talking light superstition. Players claim to have seen apparitions, heard disembodied whispers, and watched objects move on their own. Bryce Harper said his clothes were tossed off a dresser. Michael Young reportedly saw his iPod switch songs without being touched. Brandon Phillips woke up to the sound of an unseen knocking, and C.J. Wilson refused to stay there after his encounter. The ghost is said to be Charles Pfister himself, roaming the halls, inspecting guests, and occasionally terrifying multimillionaires. Some teams now let players book alternate lodging to avoid the place altogether. Others joke about it until it happens to them. What's even weirder, the hotel leans into it. Staff won't deny the rumors. They even decorate some rooms in old Victorian style, which only intensifies the energy. Ghost or not, the Pfister's legend has embedded itself in baseball culture. It's the only hotel with its own stat line of hauntings. Players come for a series and leave with stories they won't tell on the record, but definitely share over drinks. Whether you believe or not, the fear is real. Players fear the Pfister more than a 100-mile-per-hour heater. Crazier ghost story? Comment it below, and haunt that subscribe button while you're at it. Rochester's Haunted Ballpark. Frontier Field, home of the Rochester Red Wings, may look like any other minor league park, but underneath the outfield lies bones, literally. During the stadium's construction in the 1990s, workers uncovered what appeared to be human remains buried near the site. Officials claimed it was an unmarked 19th century cemetery. Some say the bodies were never fully removed. Others say something came with them. Since then, Frontier Field has been dubbed baseball's first haunted stadium. Security guards report lights flickering, doors locking themselves, and phantom voices echoing through empty concourses. Groundskeepers claim tools go missing or reappear in strange places. One minor leaguer even told a local reporter he saw a shadowy figure in the bullpen during a night game, right before the lights shorted out. Visiting teams joke about it, home players don't. Several Red Wings veterans have said the place just feels off. It gets cold where it shouldn't, one clubhouse manager once said. And during a late-season game, a stadium worker allegedly heard muffled screaming from under the stands, where no one was supposed to be. The team doesn't deny the history. They've even hosted ghost tours during off-seasons, leaning into the lore. Whether it's true or not, the myth keeps growing. It's one thing to hear boos from fans. It's another to hear whispers when the ballpark's empty. In Rochester, baseball meets the paranormal, and it doesn't always end with the final out. The 1908 bribed umpire scare. Baseball's early years weren't just gritty, they were straight up lawless. And in 1908, one of the strangest games in National League history sparked whispers of an umpire taking a bribe. It involved the Cubs, the Giants, and a chaotic one-game playoff with the pennant on the line. The backstory. Earlier that season, Giants star Fred Merkle failed to touch second base after what should have been a walk-off win. The umpire ruled him out. The game was declared a tie, and a makeup game was scheduled for the end of the year. Stakes? Winner takes the NL flag. Enter umpire Bill Clem, legendary, stoic, and at the center of controversy. On the eve of the rematch, rumors swirled that gamblers were trying to get to him. The Giants were a high-profile New York team. The Cubs were tough, no-nonsense Chicago. Bookmakers allegedly had huge action on both sides. One whisper suggested Clem was approached with a 5-figure bribe, a massive sum at the time, to favor New York. No one was ever charged, no bribe was proven, but the paranoia lingered. The Cubs won the game 4-2 and went on to capture the World Series, their last until 2016. And for decades, die-hard Giants fans insisted something didn't smell right. The tale now lives in baseball conspiracy canon, an era when umps weren't just officiators, but targets. Whether Clem was truly offered money or just caught in the hysteria, that 1908 game still echoes with suspicion. 1914 World Series Phantom Tank. The 1914 Philadelphia Athletics were a juggernaut. Managed by Connie Mack, they'd won 99 games and boasted a roster full of future Hall of Famers. They were heavy favorites to steamroll the Boston Braves in the World Series. Instead, they got steamrolled, swept in 4 games by a team dubbed the Miracle Braves. And for over a century, whispers have followed that the A's intentionally threw the series. The theory? Connie Mack was furious about rising player salaries. The Federal League had just emerged as a competitor to the American and National Leagues, offering big money deals to poach talent. Mack, a notorious penny pincher, saw the writing on the wall. So the story goes, he let his players know, subtly or not, that he didn't care if they lost. Some even believe he encouraged it as a kind of protest. On the field, the Athletics played like strangers. Poor defense, no urgency, sloppy base running. Hall of Fame pitcher Chief Bender was shelled. Another ace, Eddie Plank, never pitched at all. Fans and writers were stunned. The Braves weren't just underdogs. They'd been in last place in July. After the sweep, Mack promptly sold or released nearly all of his stars. It was a fire sale unlike anything baseball had seen. He essentially dismantled a dynasty overnight. No one ever proved the fix. But the timing, the performance, and Mack's drastic response fueled the legend that the 1914 World Series wasn't lost, it was abandoned on purpose. 1917 Giants botched play. Game 6 of the 1917 World Series between the New York Giants and Chicago White Sox is remembered less for who won than for what one player didn't do and how bizarre the moment looked. In the 4th inning, with the game tied, Giants third baseman Heine Zimmerman chased White Sox runner Eddie Collins home on a rundown that somehow featured no one covering home plate. Zimmerman was left helplessly trying to tag Collins while jogging backward, glove outstretched, like a man chasing a ghost. Collins scored easily. Fans and writers were baffled. Even by 1917 standards, the play was an unthinkable defensive breakdown. The White Sox won the game and clinched the series. Theories spread quickly. Some said Zimmerman blew the assignment out of confusion. Others claimed he was thrown under the bus by his teammates, specifically pitcher Rube Benton and catcher Bill Raridan, who mysteriously failed to cover the plate. But the darkest rumor? Zimmerman was intentionally involved in game fixing, echoing whispers that had floated around him for years. While never proven guilty in 1917, Zimmerman was later banned from baseball in 1921 for allegedly trying to fix games. Historians now view the 1917 play as an early red flag, a moment that didn't just look bad, but looked deliberate. It's still debated today. Did he freeze under pressure, or was it something more sinister? Either way, Zimmerman's mad chase remains one of the weirdest, most unsettling moments in postseason history. Mantle and Mays Casino ban. Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays were baseball royalty. Icons from an era before endorsements exploded, when legends were built with bats, not brands. But in the 1980s, both were banned from baseball not for gambling, but for being too close to it. After retirement, Mays took a job as a greeter for an Atlantic City casino. Mantle followed suit a few years later in a similar role for a casino in New Jersey. Their duties? Shaking hands, posing for photos, smiling for VIPs. They didn't place bets. They didn't run books. But Commissioner Bowie Kuhn saw their affiliation with casinos, legal ones, as a threat to the game's image. So he banned them both from baseball. The move shocked the sports world. These weren't fringe players. They were two of the greatest to ever step on a field. Bans weren't indefinite, but symbolized MLB's ongoing paranoia about gambling tarnishing the sport. Many saw it as performative hypocrisy, especially since both men had squeaky clean reputations. Fans and media pushed back. How could the same league that leaned on its past for marketing suddenly exile two of its most marketable legends? The move became even more ironic decades later as MLB partnered with sports betting companies directly, something unthinkable in the 80s. In 1985 and 1986, both bans were quietly lifted. Mantle and Mays returned to the Hall of Fame spotlight, their reputations intact. But the message lingered. In baseball, guilt by association can be just as damaging as guilt itself. Steinbrenner's $40,000 smear. George Steinbrenner was never subtle. The Yankees owner didn't just write checks, he wrote the script. But in 1990, his obsession with controlling the narrative around star outfielder Dave Winfield blew up into one of the most petty and scandalous feuds in baseball history. The spark? A $40,000 payment Steinbrenner made to a known gambler to dig up dirt on his own player. Winfield had sued Steinbrenner over unpaid charitable donations. The two had clashed for years, with Steinbrenner calling Winfield Mr. May, mocking his postseason record. But this time, the boss crossed a line. He paid Howie Spira, a small-time gambler with deep financial problems, to gather compromising information on Winfield, hoping to ruin his reputation and void his contract. Spira went public. The scandal detonated. MLB launched an investigation. Commissioner Fay Vincent suspended Steinbrenner from baseball for life, a punishment that was later reduced but still monumental. It marked the first time an owner had been banned since the Black Sox scandal. The irony? Nothing ever came of the alleged dirt. Winfield's reputation stayed intact. Steinbrenner's didn't. He was forced to step away from the Yankees, handing temporary control to his sons. The feud became legendary, not just for the audacity of paying a gambler, but for how personal, petty, and unnecessary it was. Steinbrenner returned in 1993, but the smear attempt lingered like a tabloid headline. It wasn't just a baseball feud. It was an ego battle disguised as contract drama, with a gambler in the middle. Judge and the quiet freeze. Aaron Judge hit 62 home runs in 2022, broke Roger Maris's AL record, and entered free agency as the most coveted player in years. The Yankees wanted him back. The Giants wanted him home. The Dodgers were lurking. But something strange happened. The Mets, just across town with Steve Cohen's deep pockets, never made an offer. Fans raised eyebrows. The MLBPA raised alarms. Unions suspected collusion. Specifically, they believed the Yankees and Mets had a quiet understanding not to compete for Judge's services in order to avoid driving up his price. It wasn't 1980s-style handshakes and backrooms, but emails between Yankees owner Hal Steinbrenner and Mets owner Steve Cohen suggested a mutual respect regarding free agent boundaries. Enough that the Players Association demanded an inquiry. MLB launched an investigation. In December 2022, the league cleared both teams. Officially, no collusion occurred. But the optics were suspicious. The Mets, biggest spenders in the sport, sat out the Judge sweepstakes entirely, despite being a perfect fit and having money to burn. They didn't lowball. They didn't even call. Judge returned to the Yankees on a 9-year, $360 million deal. The story mostly faded, but for many, it echoed the collusion scandals of the past. No smoking gun, just silence where bidding wars should have raged. In an era where MLB openly embraces gambling, player branding, and mega contracts, the Judge saga reminded fans that some old tricks, like protecting the owner's wallet, never fully disappear. These are the stories baseball doesn't officially tell. The urban legends, clubhouse whispers, and rumors that trail its greatest names long after they retire. Some are backed by investigations, others are nothing more than persistent myths. But all of them live on because baseball isn't just stats and championships. It's drama, ego, silence, and shadows. From the Black Sox to Judge's free agency freeze, the line between fact and fiction gets blurry fast. That's what makes these tales stick. They tap into something fans can't let go of. The idea that beneath the nostalgia and reverence, this game runs on secrecy and spectacle. These players weren't villains. They were legends. And maybe they still are. But retirements don't end stories. They complicate them. And in a sport built on myth, the space between what happened and what's believed often becomes the real legacy. So yeah, call them urban legends. Just don't call them over. Subscribe for more, because baseball's greatest mysteries are rarely caught on camera and never called out at home.